little video, and we'll work on this real quick. Okay, so masculine personality. So basically, think about it in terms of the disorganized asocial offender who was kind of weak and very timid and lacked confidence. Whereas for the organized non-social offender, you have someone who takes on that charismatic, very confident, very egotistical, somewhat, like I said, over the top with certain things, and so confident in themselves and so charismatic and knowing that they can manipulate people. They may not be any smarter than anybody else, but they feel like they can manipulate people. That's where this masculine personality comes in. It's not that being masculine is bad, but they tend to have an overwhelming masculine traits, or at least portray those to other people to where they are going to be in control of things. These organized non-social offenders, in terms of being hands-on, they typically like to actually be, when they're violating someone, when they are torturing them, when they are beating them, when they are in control of someone, they enjoy the control or harm they can do by themselves, meaning with their own hands, or if it's using a weapon, maybe it's going to be more of a knife that gets to be more intimate, to where you actually have to have contact or be in very close proximity with someone. That's that whole masculine personality of being okay with being in control of a situation or physically control another person, either one. But that's what they're getting at with masculine personality. And also, they tend to have like this machismo that if they feel like their masculinity is challenged, then it kind of gets them in that mode of trying to regain that feeling of superiority. Okay, so a lot of your organized non-social offenders tend to be sociopaths. Do not do well with accepting criticism. That can be in their relationships. It can be their jobs. A lot of them, the problems, even though they can have jobs and maybe even have some charisma, the problem they have at their jobs, if they're not the ones who are the boss in essence, is that they don't accept criticism, and they if they have any issues at work, that's basically what it is that they don't want to be told that they are wrong or they need to change something, because they're so sure of themselves and they're so narcissistic in their thoughts and their thinking that they feel what they're doing is best. And for you to tell them that they're wrong is an insult to them. So think about it that way. They also view people like sociopaths they tend to view people basically as just a way to get what they want done and accomplished. So, okay, precipitating factors. These are the things that tend to happen more so with your organized non-social offenders. Things that lead, for instance, if their thing is to go out and find a female victim. It doesn't matter if they're a prostitute. It doesn't matter if they pick them up randomly or what it is. It's usually something that triggers them, or we might call precipitating factors. It can be an argument at home with a wife or with a family member. It can be something that happens at the job that gets them stressed out. Those are typically what you will see. Another one, if they're not in a relationship, but if they happen to have families, such as, a lot of it goes back to mothers at this point. If the mother does something, says something, or causes this individual to, like I said, kind of be challenged in a way, then they will take that aggression that they would like to take out on that specific person that's causing it in their mind. They would love to take it out on that person, but they won't. What they do is they go and take that somewhere else. So what they've noticed before is with some of these people, like say if they are married, they will be let's say they'll get in a fight with their wife, and so instead of beating their wife or anything like that, they will go out, kind of leave home for the night, whatever, and they will be kind of stewing, or that inside they're just going and have all this stuff going on in their head, going on their body, whatever. So the way they take out that aggression or try to reassert themselves as being in control of the whole situation is they'll go find a female victim, for example, and or whoever they tend to choose, but a lot of times it's female victims, and they will essentially do that act against that female victim that they would have liked to done to whoever it is that's causing the problem. So that's a precipitating factor we're talking about. It can be real or imagined. Like I said, it can be something, going back to what we talked about the theories before about Agnew's strain theory. It could be something that was a legitimate threat to someone, or just what they feel like is a threat. So these people will be comfortable with venturing away. Ted Bundy definitely didn't have any problem with venturing out of his, if you want to say, comfort zone as far as where he lived. I mean, he committed crimes, and some of his murders took place in multiple states. You have the freeway killers, which we'll talk about in another video, which is William Bonin is the main one. But then you also have a couple accomplices of Vernon Butts and James Monroe, but Bonin being the main one. They committed their acts in multiple places. So those are things to think about. Jeffrey Dahmer, for the most part, was that way. He didn't travel around a whole lot, but he did go venture beyond just like, say, where he worked, where he lived, etc. John Wayne Gacy definitely did that. So those are kind of the ones I want to stick with for right now. I don't want to take too much time just talking about that part of it. But yeah, they don't have a problem with venturing outside of their comfort zones, and sometimes it actually that's why they're harder to find, because they don't have an issue with moving to a different neighborhood, different state, part of the country, whatever, just whatever they need to do. And for those of you that buy into that whole theory of, and I'm not saying I disagree with it or agree with it, but the theory about H.H. Holmes and Jack the Ripper being one and the same. So if you haven't read about that or heard anything about it, whatever, it is interesting to research. There are some interesting similarities, timing, and all that stuff, but I'm not exactly sold on it yet. So, all right. Post-offense behaviors. They'll return to the crime scene similar to what the disorganized social offender did, like we talked about before, but there's a difference. It's not like this person has the need to go back because they don't feel comfortable or confident enough to commit the same crime again against someone else. It's more that they kind of enjoy reliving it, and the mental difference is, instead of reliving it and like, oh, I'm doing it again in my mind, it's more like reliving it knowing that I was in control of that situation and I got to do this or that, or the fact of the arrogance of going back to a crime scene and thinking basically the police have no idea that it's me and I'm standing right here. So that's a big difference as far as returning to that. They like to keep clippings, or in this case, in most cases, like modern day, they will try to keep all the information made on the internet or on news about them. They find that interesting. They like the attention. BTK used to write into the newspapers. He's not the only person. Zodiac Killer did the same thing. Actually, a lot of them end up doing that. Son of Sam, or in essence, David Berkowitz. You have, but they still they want the attention and the attention on them. And sometimes there are even serial killers that have, if the attention isn't on them, they will send in something to say, hey, if you don't pay more attention to me and what I've done, I'm going to go out and kill again. In essence, they do that, or they'll be mad if the investigation goes in one direction and says, "Oh, well, we think we have a suspect here," and they'll say, "Hey, no, you're wrong because you have someone in custody." Well, guess what? There's going to be a murder tonight, and obviously that'll prove that you were wrong about who you arrested. So things along those lines have happened, still do. And yes, we still do have serial killers to this day. So they assume there's probably about 30 some or more active that we just don't know about yet, haven't connected the different crimes yet. So and here's another one. They're rarely suspected because they are very charismatic. They know how to BS people. So if the police are somewhat interested, first of all, those who are around them probably wouldn't think they would do it. Catch them off guard, like, oh, that person's not weird, so that person won't be doing it. That's who we always look for. We always look for the outlier. That's just a common thing, not for law enforcement, but for society. But then that charismatic person knows how to, I can smooth talk you and move you away from different things in conversation, or try to explain away certain things a little bit better than someone else. Interview techniques, I'll let you guys look at that. Definitely interviewed them during the day. This is a list that you can look at for characteristics, post-offense behavior, interview techniques. But that's all I want to get to as far as the actual organized non-social offender. Now I get to, in the next video, we'll actually delve into the crime scene differences, and I'll explain more details about that kind of stuff. So that being said, I will